Friends, as we come together this morning in our very full Gordon Chapel, we are deeply saddened by the loss that has fallen upon our community. And though we are grateful to be able to gather together in person, this isn't how any of us wish to be reunited. But we are faced with the difficult task of remembering our beloved here in this sacred place that brought her so much joy and comfort, surrounded by her loving children, grandchildren, sister, and so many wonderful friends from every aspect of our community. We gather here today to bring honor and reflect on a meaningful and wonderful life. And so, in this time, I invite those of you who are here, please to silence any cell phones you may have brought with you at this time. We're also grateful to all those who are watching us via live stream. In order to set the tone for our service this morning, I share a song of comfort, Eli, Eli. Eli, Eli, shelo yigamer leholam, hachol v'hayam, rishrush shel hamayim, merak hashamayim, tvilat ha'adam, hachol v'hayam, rishrush shel hamayim, merak hashamayim, tvilat ha'adam. Oh God, my God, I pray that these things never end. The sand and the sea, the rush of the waters, the crash of the heavens, the prayer of my heart, the sand and the sea, the rush of the waters, the crash of the heavens, the prayer of my heart. Death has taken our beloved Susan. Our friends grieve in their darkened world. In their silence, there is lamentation. In their tears, there is loneliness. Lost in their sorrow, may they find the presence of loving friends. Hear them, O God, and be with them. For Susan's love that united us in life, and which death cannot sever, for her companionship that we shared along life's path, and which continues the tenderness of memory, for the gifts of her heart and mind that brought us joy and happiness, and is now a precious remembrance. For all these and more, we give our thanks to God. In this time of our grief, we listen to the voice of our sacred scriptures that brings us the ever new message of God's nearness. It tells us of the kinship with the Creator, in light as in darkness, in joy as in sorrow, in life as in death. Mi agor ba'ohalecha, mi yishkon b'char kodshecha. Adonai, who may abide in your house, who may dwell in your holy mountain. Those who are upright, who do justly, who speak the truth within their hearts, who do not slander others or wrong them or bring shame upon them, who scorn the lawless, but honor those who revere God, who give their word and come what may, do not retract, who do not exploit others, who do not take bribes. Those who live in this way shall never be shaken. We are assembled with our friends in the darkness that has fallen upon them. We raise our voices together to the source of life, asking for comfort and strength. We need light when gloom darkens our lives. We need fortitude and courage when pain and loss assail us. May we find these in God, who preserves from destruction all that is good. Let us find them too in loved ones and companions who do God's work by binding up the wounds of the stricken. Who among us has not passed through trials and bereavements? Some bear fresh wounds in their hearts and therefore feel more keenly the kinship of sorrow. Others, whose days of mourning are more remote, still recall the comfort that sympathy brought to their sorrowing hearts. May our sharing of sorrow and our deeds of solace bring comfort to the loved ones of our beloved Susan. We can join together now in the reading of the 23rd Psalm. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Adonai natan v'Adonai lakach, Yehi Shem Adonai mivorach. God has given, God has taken away. Blessed be the name of God. An ancient people, we are well acquainted with grief and with the valley of shadows. Death and sorrow are not strangers to us, yet the centuries have taught us that a good name endures beyond the grave and that there is strength in faith. With Job we say, Adonai natan, God you have given. You gave us a loved one who will not be forgotten. For all that was good and enduring in Susan's life, we offer the deepest thanks of our hearts. Adonai lakach, God, you have taken away. We pray for the strength to turn our broken hearts into an altar of trust before which we acknowledge your sovereignty and love. As we now say, Yehi Shem Adonai mivorach, blessed be the name of God now and forever. May the memory of Susan endure among us as a blessing. In your own time, O God, when we too are called to enter eternity, may we leave this life secure in the faith that in your light we shall also see light. In life and in death we cannot go where you are not, and where you are, hope endures. Sustained by this assurance, we invoke your name, Almighty God. We are taught that each of us is created b'tselem Elohim, in the divine image. There is a small spark of God that has been implanted within each of us. Our task throughout our days is to draw out that sacred spark in meaningful and lasting ways. Susan Brochstein's spark was always illuminated and glowed deeply. There was a profound sense of passion in Susan's life, always with a huge smile on her face, a sparkle in her eye. Susan would be quick to share a recent story of her children or grandchildren. She was a devoted daughter to her parents, Silas and Bernice, also of blessed memory. Susan and her sister Nancy were always connected throughout their days. Even though they were quite different, Nancy always supported her sister. They recalled fond times of running the family jewelry store. Susan was the one with the eye for setting up the store and displaying everything in tasteful and appealing ways. Susan was also a great saleswoman, always ready to strike up a conversation with any customer who walked through the door. Susan was close to her brother-in-law, Russell. The two enjoyed many conversations on a wide variety of topics. Even if there was an occasional disagreement, Susan was always able to respond in a graceful, elegant, and meaningful way. Susan and Nancy were always united in providing care and love to their parents, especially as they would fondly recall their childhood years. Being a mother filled Susan's soul beyond measure. She took great pride in her daughter Ashley and son Tyler. She loved her bonus children, as she called them, Josh and Lindsay. Susan was always there for them throughout their childhood and well into their adult years. She reveled in every one of their accomplishments and cherished every moment she spent with them. The true stars of her life were her grandchildren, Hunter, Savannah, Jake, Alexander, and William. She was such a proud Gaga. She made it her mission never to miss any special birthday, school event, or just an opportunity to be together. Susan was born to be a Gaga, and she loved every second of it. Whether there were times to enjoy in Houston or traveling to California, Susan made her way. Even though she didn't love to travel, she became quite fond of San Francisco when she could visit with her children and grandchildren. Gaga would get down on the ground and play for hours, never complaining that she was tired or needed a rest. Prior to these visits, she would spend days finding the perfect gifts for all of her grandkids. She wanted to be fair and equal between all of them. She would send regular texts to the kids, making sure they knew how much she appreciated them, and always to share some sage and wise advice, or what could be called Susan humor. Sadly, Susan's physical life has ended well before her time. We will think of Susan and remember her lev tahor, her pure heart. She was generous, giving, and loving to her family and all her friends. Susan lived to share both her inner and outer beauty with the world without worrying about anything else. While we can never understand why Susan's life ended so quickly, we do know that when we are faced with challenging times, our tradition helps us by finding the prayers and words needed to share our grief. The legacy of Susan's life will be remembered for many years and generations to come. We will continue to share these special memories that are carried now in our hearts forever. Those are the blessings and enduring legacies. Zichrona livracha, may Susan's memory be for a blessing today and always, as together we say, Amen. I'd like to invite first Tyler, Susan's son, to share some personal words.
My name is Tyler Brochstein, and I am the youngest child of our mom, Susan. My mom wanted me to share some things with you today, including the fact that she's running about 30 minutes late, but that she said we should go ahead and start without her. As many of you know, my mom was always late for reasons beyond her control. Like this time, the traffic at Heaven's Gate was just horrific. Our mom loved her father and mother, Silas and Bernice Freelander, with all of her heart. She made sure they were a constant in our lives and that we idolized them like she did. Susan was born to be a mom and subsequently a grandmother. She loved every single second of it. She was an incredibly involved mother, head of the PTA, Scouts, and so on. Because of my mom, I have been to Disney more times than Mickey Mouse. I was the kid envied at summer camp who got care packages every single day. Our mom loved spending every moment possible with her children. If I told her I had a dry mouth, she was happy to let me stay home from school. And why would I go to school? When I was sick, my mom would give me a bed tray and a bell and be at my beck and call. Unfortunately, that's no exaggeration. Our mom was a very creative person, and that made for a fun childhood. Going to the library countless times to plan the perfect clubhouse, which ended up being 2 stories with electricity and air conditioning. Creative birthday parties that included themes like army soldiers for the boys and nurses for the girls. I'm actually not sure that would fly in today's age. A Saturday Night Live themed bar mitzvah with an SNL stage recreated in its entirety. The Rockets' power dancers were a nice touch as well. Our mom was incredibly patient. I remember when she used to take me to Southern Imports every year for Halloween to find a costume, and it didn't matter if I spent 4 hours looking around. She just loved being there with me. For my mom, seeing her kids' joy was the ultimate joy. She babied me and would still be doing so today if I let her. A common joke around town is that my shoes as a kid never showed any wear because my mom carried me everywhere that we went. Mom spent every second thinking about her kids and grandkids. When she was not with them, she was worrying about them. And a lot of those worries were pretty far out there. I bet a lot of people in this room have stories about that. One that I remember that stuck in my mind was when she said, "Make sure you look at your 2-year-old's toddler belly. It looks distended, and I'm concerned that he has heart disease." I inherited many wonderful things from my mother, like her emotional side. Some qualities, however, might not be so great. I worry a lot like my mother did. I, too, do not want my kids to cross the street without holding their parents' hands until they're at least 21. Mom taught me how to be aware of one's bias towards her own children. Not too long ago, I was driving home from work in the evening. My mom was a night owl, and I could always reach her late at night. She would always say, "You work too hard, and you need to consider another career." This time, I decided to entertain her as a joke. I said, "Mom, what should I be doing?" Without a moment's hesitation, she responded, "You should be a male model." So if any of you know someone looking for a 40-year-old, short, slightly overweight Jewish model, please let me know. Our mom insisted my kids look like me, even though they are pure Kaminsky. She would look for anything to make the connection. Like, look at Alexander's earlobe, it looks just like Tyler's. She loved giving gifts and surprises. Every year for my birthday, even when I turned 40, she would plan for weeks on what she could get me. I would usually say nothing, but because I have everything I need, that would result in her taking me shopping on the day of my actual birthday and refusing to give up until we found something. Every year, my mom ensured I had a special birthday, a special meal, and a cookie cake. The kids loved their gaga and surprises she would bring them most Saturdays. A toy matching their current interests, and an oversized dessert like an entire cake from Molars. In the last couple of years of her life, my mom would have me over for lunch on Fridays. She would let me select the main course and would prepare a feast. Veal chop, salad, avocado, broccoli, baked potato, and cake. That was just the example of a single meal, and she would make sure I ate a ton. Then we would talk on the couch, and she would put a blanket over me, hoping I would fall asleep. She wanted her time with her kids to never end. Our mom loved us unconditionally. If If I were a serial murderer, I could see her saying, well, everyone makes mistakes. He's still perfect. Mom never judged us and wanted for us whatever we wanted for ourselves. She could not be prouder of her children and grandchildren and doted on them constantly. Mom could never part with memories of her kids. While it's normal to keep a project or two per school year, she probably has every project I ever created, every tooth I ever lost. The joke I tell people is you could probably recreate me with all the hair clippings and teeth of mine, and who knows what else she kept around her house. Every time I felt like I was getting sick, which was probably 2 to 3 times a week, I would call my mom, who would drop everything she was doing out of concern and start the internet research. My sister did this too, which is funny because my mom's anxiety about her health really drove us crazy. Nevertheless, we clearly fed into it, and to a lesser degree, continue that unreasonable level of alert with our children. I'm sorry for our spouses who always have to keep that paranoia in check, or at least try to. Everyone who knew my mom will miss her, including the scammers from foreign countries who would love having hour-long discussions about her bank account and other sensitive financial information. The outpouring of support from my mom has been amazing. When I get sad, I read all of the texts and Facebook messages and the wonderful memories of my mom, that brings a smile to my face. And seeing everyone here today, many of you in from out of town, just means the world to my sister and me. Few people here likely know my mom has been in a fight for health, at least since I was in my early 20s. My whole adult life, she was in and out of the hospital with horrible stomach problems that most would find debilitating. Those visits became increasingly frequent, from twice a year to twice a month. Whenever she left the house, she had on makeup, heels, and the whole works. Behind her smile, few knew the pain that she was actually in. My mom had a stroke earlier this year, and her doctor told me to ensure that she does not drive at night. She ignored the doctor's orders to make sure she could read our children bedtime stories. She continued the 3+ hour routines of back scratching and nursery rhymes until the kids would fall asleep, even when she had no energy left. Just give me 1 second here. She would muster every last ounce to be the most fun and playful grandmother. From as young as I can remember, my mom said, I'm going to make sure you and your sister Ashley are best friends. So when I'm not here for you, I know you will take care of each other. Mom, you can rest assured that worked. Sorry, it's hard to read your speech when your eyes are tearing. My wife, Lindsay, and her parents, Diane and Stephen Kaminsky, have always been amazing to my mother. Lindsay's parents included my mom in everything. And Lindsay never felt threatened by how close I was with my mom and did everything in her power to preserve that bond and to continue it with our children. It has been a struggle seeing my mother's gradual decline, and Lindsay has been the best partner anyone could ask for every step of the way. Likewise, Ashley's husband, Josh Rutberg, has been incredible, and I have relied on him heavily as a voice of reason. Well, my mom and her sister Nancy were very different people. Their love for one another never faded. Any doubt of that dissipated in the final trip my mom made to the hospital. Nancy took her as I was quarantining due to COVID, and my mom grabbed Nancy's hand and expressed gratitude for how her sister stuck by her side to the end. My mom was a huge collector of all things hearts and cupids, which makes sense as she was all about love. Our love was incredibly strong. When she had a stroke recently, and she did not know what year it was or which state she was in, she told me, "I do not know your name, but I know you are my child and that I love you with all of my heart." You see, that has been hardwired between us. The last thing I told my mom seconds before she passed was this: no matter where you are and no matter where I am, we will love each other forever. I love you, Mom.
I'd now like to invite Ashley and her children, Hunter and Savannah, to come forward.
That's going to be a hard speech to follow. I thought it actually wasn't going to be. That's why I let you go first. I should have read the speech. Ugh. Well, I'm Ashley, and this is my daughter, Savannah, and my son, Hunter, and I have a new baby, Jake, who is not here right now. He's home sleeping. So this day came too early. My mom was my best friend. Never in your life had you ever seen someone so committed to their children and grandchildren. As my brother and I were talking about my mom, Tyler shared we were so lucky because my mom had a plan, a grand plan, which he mentioned, that we were going to be the best of friends. My mom never picked anything over us, ever. Never a phone call, never a plan, never a visit. We always knew we were number one. Tyler and I always joke that my mom never had an occupation besides being the number one mom in the world. Though if you check her Facebook page, she does share that she ran the Fan and Shop with her sister. Rumor has it that my mom and her besties would be dusting the shelves and sneaking cigarettes. Sorry, guys. They were fake candy cigarettes. In August of 2021, my mom made a San Francisco trip happen with all of the grandchildren. She was in her complete glory. We even had a photographer come just because the moment was so special, and I'm so glad we did. She also took a last-minute Thanksgiving trip to San Francisco, as it was the first one without her mother. My grandma passed at 99 less than a year ago. My mom was hilarious. If we went a few days without talking, she would start her full child missing search, calling everybody, texting everybody, posting on Facebook. Has anybody heard from my daughter? I haven't talked to her. She always found me. We didn't usually go more than a day without a conversation. She was recently telling me not to play tennis after COVID, don't ride my bike down big hills, don't pump gas while talking on the cell phone. You could explode. It's happened before. I know the person it happened to. My family got a kick out of these. My fondest memories of my mom are when I was a child and when I had children. As a child, my mom was everything, and Tyler mentioned some, but she was also room mom every year, Girl Scout leader, you name it. So heavily involved. Everybody loved spending the night at my house or coming over because I had the cool and fun mom. She was always a blast to be around. She used to bring my friends presents, call them, check on them, and just stay involved in everybody's life. We got in some very special mother and daughter trips. Los Angeles, New York, Vegas, DC, most of these in the last 5 to 6 years. Watching my mom, who, by the way, when I had Hunter, was watching under the door because she wasn't allowed in the room to make sure I was okay until somebody said everything's okay. Watching her become a grandma was her biggest enjoyment. Her love for Hunter was insane. And then she got Savannah. Then she got Alexander, William, and recently Jake. She was there for a lot of Jake's first year. Though he will only remember her by our stories, she will always remember him. They FaceTimed all the time, and he learned to say Gaga this week and showed her right before she passed. She heard. Savannah and Gaga were so close. I saw a text come through to Gaga right after she passed away from Savannah. Savannah said, "I love you so much and hope you have good time with Gigi and your dad. I love you. You're the best person someone could ever ask for. I miss you. Fly high." Hunter was Gaga's firstborn grandchild. He had 12 years of extreme closeness. Hunter got his insane heart of gold from his grandma. He loved just being with his grandma, no activity needed. And of course, he named her. My mom saw me marry my soulmate. She knew I was very loved and safe. She also had a new person to call and track down when she couldn't find me, and she took full advantage of that. My mom's sister Nancy was there at the end holding her hand in the one that got her to the hospital. They were the only ones that got to have the final words, and I'm so glad they shared their love for each other. My mom had very dear friends since her youth that always remained in her life and held such a special place. Her dearest friend Frenchie's life was cut too short as well. She already greeted my mom in heaven, and anybody that knows Frenchie, my mom, knows that they're already having so much fun together. My mom's dear friend Lynn Wexler sent this to me last night. I believe that most of her close friends that are in the room would describe her exactly the same way. Once in a lifetime, you meet someone who instantly makes you feel comfortable. She makes you laugh, amazes you with her creativity and attention to detail, above all expresses kindness. You become friends. You soon realize she has a fantastic flair for fashion and a fondness for color. She believes in being a mother and a grandmother above all else, and also in just simply having fun. Over the decades, you become best friends who share a history over 50 years. You know she collects hearts, she gives hearts, and has a heart of gold filled with love. It was too early, period. So many things were coming up that she was looking forward to. She wanted to get the strength to come to Hunter's bar mitzvah in October. She looked forward to her weekly visits with Tyler and Lindsay and the kids. She was hopeful for her next trip to California, where we shopped till our hearts dropped. Her fashion and jewelry taste could crush anybody's, even in this room. As I was holding her hand as she passed, I told her she could go. She opened her eyes and kept fighting to live. We said, "It's okay, you can go." She had Silas, Bernice, Frenchie, and Yuppie Puppy waiting to get her. Yuppie Puppy was definitely waiting. The mural on the wall is now being taken down. We know she will be comfortable. We also know if anyone can find a way to watch over her kids and grandkids, it will be her. She already has showed signs as a red cardinal came to her house immediately after the death, came to find Tyler, came to our dear friend Nicole's house. She works fast and is beautiful as a bird. She's got the best red feathers around. I wanted much more for my mom. I wanted my mom to have true love. I wanted her to take trips to Paris. I wanted more, but she had everything she wanted. She had happy and healthy kids, happy and healthy grandkids, time with them and downtime to read her books, talk on the phone, and be cozy. If you take one lesson away from my mom, she never prioritized anyone over family, never. I can promise you when she passed away knowing that she had no regrets about family. Prioritize the things you love. Invest your time and energy there. We never know how much time we have on this earth, but what we control is how we spend that time. Though her life was shorter than we wanted, her closeness with her family is what most people dream of their entire lifetime. Thank you, Savannah.
I am Savannah. Gaga is my grandma. I am her granddaughter. Me and Gaga were best friends. We would play dolls together. We would play Monopoly together. If I did something good in school, she would be the first person I would tell. When I did my cartwheel without hands, I was on the phone with her. Even though we live in different states, I feel like I'm always next to her. When my mom was having me, it was Gaga's birthday. Her birthday is April 2nd, and I was born on April 3rd. The first time I ever saw Gaga was in the hospital. My eyes lit up. She was the prettiest person ever. I remembered when we used to go swimming, Gaga would say, "Be careful, don't put your head underwater." And I love how Gaga is so kind. My mom is a sleepover master, and I think she gets it from Gaga. Whenever I am at Gaga's house, I would put on makeup. Gaga was the best grandma ever, and I don't know what I would do without her.
Hi, my name is Hunter / Susan's grandson. I knew her since my mom gave birth to me. I loved her so much. Not even a fireball could break our connection. I don't know any kid who has a better grandma than her. I just wish it didn't happen so soon. It was like a flash. I have so much good memories with her. I am the first grandson. I made her name up, Gaga. I don't think anyone would ever be so patient with me, but Gaga would. She was always there for me. The last time I saw her, I gave her a really big hug, and then about 3 months later, I got the news that she passed away. I learned something from this. Always appreciate what you have and never don't appreciate the moment, and give any family as much attention as they give you.
I have the opportunity to share something from Henny, a friend of Susan's and her family's since 1969. I am heartbroken with each of you as we grieve the loss of our dear Susan, as we celebrate her beautiful life. Susan loved life. Her daughter Ashley, her son Tyler, and their respective families. Susan loved each of you more than you could imagine. So very proud of you. Susan and I met midsummer of 1969, a small store on Fannin Street known as the Fannin Shop, owned by sisters Nancy and Susan, with their parents, Mr. and Mrs. S. Friedlander, an endearing family. The store was a huge hit in Houston, surrounding communities, and further. They carried James Avery jewelry, the silver spoon and the gold. Prior to this time, James Avery pieces were made from wood, sold in church gift shops. Today, James Avery jewelry is now known coast to coast. Susan and I became close friends. In the evening when the shop closed, Susan and I would stay late, dusting the shelves, smoking a few cigarettes, which we decided caused more dust. There were no ashtrays. Mr. Friedlander stopped in after his days of golf. Healthy suntan. We always had a chat. Mrs. Friedlander, as my mother often stated, was a gracious, kind, lovely lady. One day, Mrs. Friedlander suggested if I paid on a regular basis, possibly, I could have a walking layaway. Oh, how I treasured these purchases. However, the special part of these visits, the opportunity to visit, are wonderful visits. Nancy, Susan, Mr. and Mrs. Friedlander. I love and respected this family. The heartfelt love for life, their entire family, I shall never forget. Thank you, Susan, for your friendship. Our visits last forever, a treasure in my life. May you rest in peace. You are already missed. And Henny shares an Eskimo legend. It reads, perhaps they are not the stars, but rather openings in heaven, where the love of our lost one pours through and shines down upon us to let us know their souls are at peace. My love for this dear family, they shall never be forgotten. And now with all of our stories and memories, our sharing, our smiles and our laughter, we pause now for a moment of silent reflection so we can each think of our beloved Susan. Shalom Rav, O Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam Ki Ata Melech Adon Lechol HaShalom Ki Ata Melech Adon Lechol HaShalom Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam V'tov beinecha levarech et amcha Yisrael b'chol eit ub'chol shah b'shlomecha. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam Tasim Leolam Tasim Leolam. Earlier this morning, the family and I gathered in the cemetery to accompany Susan to her final resting place, surrounded by her parents and so much family and history and legacy of this city. It was a beautiful honor for her and one that I know brought great comfort to the family. Early or late, all must answer the summons to return to the source of being, for we lose our hold on life when our time has come, as the leaf falls from the bough when its day is done. The deeds of the righteous enrich us all, as the fallen leaf enriches the soil beneath. The dust returns to the earth, the spirit lives on with God. Like the stars by day, our beloved dead are not seen by mortal eyes. They shine on forever. Theirs is eternal peace. Let us be thankful for the companionship that continues in a love stronger than death. Sanctifying the name of God, we honor the memory of our beloved Susan. In just a moment, we'll stand together and share our last formal prayer of our time together. That's the prayer we refer to as the mourner's Kaddish. But it's not a prayer that mentions death or salvation, or is even a crying out to God. Rather, it's an offering of praise to God for the gifts of life that are so beautiful, that bring our souls such comfort, and those aspects of Susan's neshama, her soul, that would continue to be a source of comfort and strength for all who are touched by her life. So in Susan's honor and in her memory, we rise together to recite these sacred words. Yit gadal v'yit kadash shemei rabbah, v'alman divrach yurtei v'amlich malchutei, v'chayachon v'yomechon uv'chayei jehol beit Yisrael, v'agala v'yizman kariv yimru amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mevarach le'olam almei almaya. Yit barach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yithadar v'yithaleh v'yithalal shemei dekudesha b'richu. Le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechemata. Demiran b'alma v'yimru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shamaya. V'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Oseh shalom b'romav. Hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn, and bring comfort to all of the bereaved among us, as together we say, amen. A few announcements before we leave the Gordon Chapel this morning. Tonight, at the home of Tyler and Lindsay, there will be a Shiva Minyan beginning at 5:45. Their address is 4906 Bellevue in Bel Air. In addition, at 6:30 p.m. at our Shabbat services in our main sanctuary on Friday evening, Susan's name will be read as part of our memorial prayer. That service is available both in person and via live stream through our website. I'd ask you please to wait for a moment so that I may escort the family into Wolf Tumim Hall for a meal of condolence. They'll look forward to greeting and meeting with each of you. As we have come here today in peace, let us also depart in peace. Always think of our beloved Susan, who would encourage us to choose life as she would wish for herself and for us in our days. Thank you.